All right. Good evening. Thanks for coming to the second Public Information Center for the Calhoun Street Extension Local Concept Development Study. Sorry, the clicker is not working, of course. Sorry, I'm having some technical difficulties. Okay, I'm Amy Sikowski. I'm the project manager from McCormick Taylor. We'll introduce the rest of the project team that's here. So just go around the room. Or
Openberg, Assistant County Engineer.
Bassett Luzon County Engineer,
Matthew Lawson, Assistant County Planning Director.
and Kate is not with us today.
Dave Radia, McCormick Taylor, Project Engineer.
Jordan Helen, McCormick Taylor, Transportation Engineer.
Great, thank you. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Matt Zakowski real quick just to do a project introduction.
Thank you, everybody, for attending our meeting tonight. Tonight, we are going to be looking at a public information center for the Calhoun Street project. We're going to be looking at alternatives that the consultant has prepared. The first public information center, we looked at pretty much the impetus for the project and why we're doing this project. Today, we're going to be looking at the actual alternatives. So we're going to have slides talking about all the different alternatives. At the end of the day, none of these alternatives are being proposed at the moment. We are going to be looking at different individual aspects of each alternative. At the end of the day, it may be a hodgepodge of different alternatives for the PPA, which is the preliminary preferred alternative. And with that, I'll turn it back to Amy.
Thanks, Matt. Just some minor housekeeping items for anybody that's online virtually. The meeting is being recorded, so just let everybody know that. If you can please mute your microphone during the presentation. We'll have a Q&A session after the presentation and where anybody can ask their questions. During the Q&A, you can hit the raise hand button. That'll let us know that we can unmute your microphone. And if you could please turn your camera off. And also the chat box will be available for questions. So you can post them at any time. We'll answer them after the presentation. Just click on the chat icon at the top. It'll pop up the meeting chat on the side, and then you can just type in your question, hit enter, and then we can answer your question later. So thanks. So here's the agenda for today's meeting. We're going to be discussing the project background and location. I'm going to provide a brief overview of the NJDOT local capital project delivery process. I'll go over briefly the existing conditions and then the purpose and need of the project, as well as the goals and objectives. Then I'm going to turn it over to Jordan, and he's going to present the conceptual alternatives. And then I'll provide a brief update on the project schedule and status, as well as upcoming community involvement activities. So this local concept development study was initiated in May 2024. It's going to include the evaluation of multimodal and safety improvements along Calhoun Street. And it's also going to evaluate the extension of Calhoun Street to North Olden Avenue. The project's located in both Ewing and the city of Trenton, and it's being completed through the NJDOT local capital project delivery process. That allows for public input from the general public, stakeholders, and local officials to ensure the success of the project moving forward. So as I stated, the study will evaluate safety improvements along Calhoun Street, the existing alignment that's shown in yellow on the map. And then it's also going to evaluate the extension of Calhoun Street from Kirkbride Avenue to North Olden Avenue. That's shown in pink on the map. So the proposed extension would connect to Olden Avenue at Capitol Plaza, and there's a roundabout being designed for that intersection under a separate project. So this graphic is just a overview of the local capital project delivery process. Right now, we're in the local concept development phase. We've completed the data collection. We've initiated all of our public outreach activities, And we've also developed the project purpose and needs statement. As Jordan's going to discuss, we've developed 4 alternatives for the project. And then our next steps will be to analyze the alternatives, select a preliminary preferred alternative known as the PPA, and also prepare the local concept development report. Then once this phase is over, the project will move to the preliminary engineering phase, then to final design, and then finally to construction. So now I'm just going to briefly summarize the existing conditions within the project area. Calhoun Street is classified as an urban minor arterial. It has a posted speed limit of 25 miles per hour in the project area. The road also carries 1 lane in each direction and has a daily volume of approximately 8,800 vehicles per day. There's also 2 signalized intersections within the project area, one at Southern Street and then one at Princeton Avenue and MLK Boulevard. So land use in the project area is a mixture of small businesses, residences, industrial properties, as well as community resources such as the Capital City Sports Complex, churches, and then the future Paul Robeson Charter School. Capitol Health Regional Medical Center is also located close by, just east of the project area. Field observations noted the presence of bicyclists and pedestrians throughout the project limits, and these are this traffic is anticipated to increase once the charter school opens later this year. The existing conditions, under existing conditions, there's no shoulders or bike lanes on Calhoun Street, and the sidewalk is also very sporadic. There's some new sidewalk near the sports complex as well as the townhouse development. However, a lot of the sidewalk is in bad condition. As you can see in the top photo as well, where there are no sidewalks, we see a lot of worn paths. That indicates that more pedestrian facilities are warranted. Based on our traffic count data, approximately 10% of the traffic on Calhoun Street is made up of trucks, heavy trucks, buses, and a lot of them are accessing the industrial sites near Kirkbride Avenue. We've also noticed that there's a lot of on-street tractor trailer parking in that vicinity as well. There are also a few bus stops along Calhoun Street, and none of those bus stops have benches or shelters for pedestrians. Crash data was collected for the years 2021, 2022, and 2023. As you can see on the map, the 2 higher crash locations were the intersections of Southern Street, where there was 10 crashes, and then the intersection of Princeton Avenue and MLK Boulevard, where there was 9 crashes. At Southern Street, there was 30% were bicycle and pedestrian crashes, which is it's a much higher than the statewide average. And then 30% were also rear end crashes there. At Princeton Avenue, there was 1 pedestrian crash, and then the majority of the rest of the crashes were rear end, side swipe, and angle crashes, which is pretty standard for a signalized intersection. There's also 5 crashes at Jennett Street. That's a small intersection, and 2 of them were angle crashes that were due to motorists running through stop signs. We also noticed that there was several crashes involving parked vehicles and utility poles along Calhoun Street. So traffic counts were conducted in June 2024. There are approximately 8,800 vehicles per day on Calhoun Street. Based on the traffic analysis, the intersections operate at a level of service C or better, and that means that the traffic operations are satisfactory. It's kind of the middle of the road. We didn't notice any major operational issues or queuing in the project area either. However, just north of the project limits is the North Olden Avenue and Princeton Avenue intersection. That intersection experiences a lot of safety concerns, including a lot of heavy truck traffic, buses, traffic congestion, and a lot of motorists running red lights there. There are also traffic signal deficiencies at the intersections of Calhoun Street and Southern Street and Princeton Avenue. Those traffic signals will be upgraded as part of this project. And then there are also a lot of substandard or missing ADA curb ramps and sidewalk that don't meet current design standards. I'm going to briefly touch on some environmental resources. Within the project area, there's the Bohm Porcelain Studio that's recommended eligible for listing on the National Register of Historic Places. Additionally, there's 2 Green Acres Section 4F parkland sites. One's the Capital City Sports Complex, and the other is the Stout Avenue Playground. That's the playground located on North Olden Avenue, adjacent to the U-Haul property. There are also a few hazardous waste sites, including known contaminated sites and underground storage tanks. They're a little hard to see, but they're shown on the little orange dots on the map. So there's a few on there. And I'm just going to note too that if the Calhoun Street Extension roadway is recommended as part of the preliminary preferred alternative, that we will be conducting noise and air quality studies for the new road, and those studies would be performed during the next phase of the project. So based on the results of the existing conditions analysis, the purpose of the project will be to improve multimodal safety along Calhoun Street, as well as enhance the network connectivity between Calhoun Street and North Olden Avenue. As you can see, Calhoun Street is an important roadway, provides access to a lot of local businesses, residences, industrial sites, as well as community facilities, and is an important regional direct connection between Mercer County and Pennsylvania. The Calhoun Street extension has also been part of Mercer County's master plan for more than 40 years. So bicycle and pedestrian traffic is already high and is expected to increase with the opening of the new charter school later this year. Additionally, traffic generated by the many land uses on North Olden Avenue and the lack of multimodal facilities results in a lot of conflicts between vehicles, bicycles, and pedestrians on Calhoun Street. The Olden Avenue, Princeton Avenue intersection, although it's not part of the project limits, is directly adjacent to them, and that serves the Capital Health Regional Medical Center, which is the region's only level 2 trauma facility. And this intersection's highly congested, has a lot of heavy truck traffic, and also has a high crash rate. So the Calhoun Street extension would divert traffic away from this Princeton Avenue intersection, as well as provide safer multimodal connections between Calhoun Street and Olden Avenue. Some of the goals and objectives of the project is to improve bicycle and pedestrian compatibility, improve network connectivity, and also reduce congestion in and just around the project area. The preferred alternative will also seek to implement capital improvements that are listed in both county and municipal master plans, as well as comply with local complete streets policies. We'll also be looking to minimize disruptions to adjacent properties during the construction of the project. Okay, so I'm going to turn it over to Jordan. He's going to go through the 4 alternatives, and then he'll throw it back to me, and I'll finish up the presentation. Yeah.
Thank you, Amy. Good evening, everyone. I want to thank you all for being here this evening. My name is Jordan Helen. I'm a transportation engineer with McCormick Taylor, and I'll be presenting the potential corridor alternatives developed. As part of this concept development study, we laid out 4 alternatives. These alternatives were developed to meet the project's purpose and need, addressing controlling substandard design elements where feasible, and minimizing impacts to environmental assets, utilities, and residential and commercial properties along the corridor. As Amy mentioned, this project will be coordinated with the North Olden project, so a lot of the work here will be kind of a part of that as well. I'll kind of get into that as we go. And seeing as it's April 1st, I'll try to minimize the amount of made up terms. So, you know, as I go through the alternatives, please consider this an open discussion. Feel free to share any feedback, suggestions, or concerns as I go. So I want to start by saying that, I know that might be a little bit hard to see. So, just bear with me. I'll try to go through each part as much as I can in depth. And there's a lot of information here. So for alternative one, we will be implementing traffic signal upgrades at the intersections of Southern Street and MLK Jr. Boulevard. The construction of an extension is proposed, which we are calling Extension Road, between the existing intersection of George Street to North Olden Avenue near Capitol Plaza. This alternative's extension will maintain the Capital City Sports Complex parking lot. Right-of-way and access impacts to the surrounding business properties will result due to the extension. Block 9307, Lot 1, which is right here next to Capital City Sports Complex. That property will be preserved in this alternative for a potential school location. The construction of sidewalks are proposed on Calhoun Street and New Willow Street in each of the alternatives. And this will be for charter school utilization. And lastly, we will be providing high visibility crosswalks at all intersections in each alternative within the project limits. Alternative 1 maintains the existing curb lines and reduces the lanes to 11 feet on Calhoun Street. The construction of buffered 5-foot sidewalk is proposed in the southbound direction, where it currently does not exist. The 7-foot sidewalk in the northbound direction will be maintained, and 8 feet on-street parking is proposed in the southbound direction. The construction of a buffered cycle track is proposed, which follows Calhoun Street's existing northbound curb line and terminates at MLK Jr. Boulevard. Extension Road will be constrained by multiple properties, access points, and existing features along the length of its limits. For Alternative 1's extension, we are proposing the construction of 12-foot lanes, 12-foot lanes and a 10-foot shared use path in the northbound direction. So here we are for Alternative 2. And for Alternative 2, the construction of a roundabout is proposed at the intersection of Paul Avenue. The potential school property will be required for this roundabout. And removed between MLK Jr. Boulevard and Calhoun Street to accommodate the construction of a second roundabout at the intersection of MLK Jr. Boulevard and Chadwick Street. The construction of an extension is proposed within the same limits as Alternative 1, and access and right-of-way impacts to the surrounding business properties will result due to the extension and the roundabout at Paul Avenue. The construction of a shared access driveway roundabout leg is proposed to mitigate these access impacts. Impacts to Capital City Sports Complex parking lot will also result due to the extension and roundabout at Paul Avenue. The construction of a one-way diagonal parking lot is proposed between Capital City Sports Complex and the former Bohm Porcelain properties to alleviate these impacts. And we will be implementing traffic signal upgrades at the intersection of Southern Street, and high visibility crosswalks will be provided at all other intersections. Alternative 2 maintains the existing curb lines and 12-foot lanes on Calhoun Street. 8 feet on-street parking is proposed in each direction, and the construction of a buffered 10-foot shared use path is proposed in the southbound direction. The 7-foot sidewalk in the northbound direction will be maintained. Alternative 2's extension proposes the construction of 12-foot lanes with 3-foot shoulders and a buffered 10-foot shared use path in the northbound direction. The construction of a retaining wall will be required to avoid impacts to the existing cell tower adjacent to the U-Haul property. For Alternative 3, the construction of a roundabout is proposed at the intersection of Paul Avenue. The potential school property will be required for this roundabout. Jeanette Street will be converted to one-way and removed between Calhoun Street and MLK Jr. Boulevard to accommodate the construction of a second roundabout at the intersection of MLK Junior Boulevard. The construction of a shared driveway to Kirkbride Avenue is proposed for Compass Display and Mercer Group International to mitigate access impacts resulting from the roundabout at Paul Avenue. The construction of an extension shifted slightly east is proposed within the same limits as the previous two alternatives. The construction of the one-way diagonal parking lot described in the previous alternative is proposed to alleviate impacts to Capital City Sports Complex parking lot. We will be implementing traffic signal upgrades at the intersection of Southern Street, and high visibility crosswalks will be provided at all intersections. Alternative 3 maintains the existing curb line and reduces the lanes to 11 feet on Calhoun Street. 5 feet on-street parking, 5 feet on-street bike lanes terminating at MLK Junior Boulevard are proposed in each direction. The construction of buffered 5-foot sidewalk is proposed in the southbound direction where it currently does not exist. The 7-foot sidewalk in the northbound direction will be maintained, and a buffered 7-foot on-street parking is proposed in the northbound direction. Alternative 3's extension proposes the construction of 11-foot lanes from the roundabout at Paul Avenue to New Willow Street and 12-foot lanes from New Willow Street to North Olden Avenue. The construction of 5-foot on-street bike lanes in each direction and buffered sidewalk in the northbound direction are proposed along the entire length of the extension. The construction of 8 feet on-street parking is proposed in the northbound direction from the roundabout at Paul Avenue to New Willow Street. A retaining wall will also be required in this alternative as well to mitigate impacts to the existing cell tower near the U-Haul property. For alternative 4, the construction of a roundabout is proposed at the intersection of New Willow Street and Paul Avenue. Calhoun Street will be removed between Kirkbride Avenue and New Willow Street. Jeanette Street will be converted to one-way and removed between MLK Junior Boulevard and Calhoun Street to accommodate redesigning the intersection MLK Junior Boulevard to a signalized T intersection. The potential school property will be preserved in this alternative, and the construction of a 10-foot shared use path is proposed along the previous alternative's extension road alignment. This shared use path will maintain the Capital City Sports Complex parking lot and avoid surrounding business access and property impacts triggered by the previous alternative's extensions. New Willow Street will be redesigned and provide connections to North Olden Avenue, utilizing a proposed extension by the U-Haul property. We will be implementing traffic signal upgrades at the intersection of Southern Street and providing high visibility crosswalks at all remaining intersections. Alternative 4 maintains the existing curb lines and 12-foot lanes on Calhoun Street. 8-foot on-street parking is proposed in each direction, and the construction of a buffered 10-foot shared use path is proposed in the southbound direction. The 7-foot sidewalk in the northbound direction will be maintained, and as mentioned, Calhoun Street will be removed between Kirkbride Avenue and New Willow Street. Alternative 4's extension utilizes the same alignment and cross-section as Alternative 2's extension road between New Willow Street and North Olden Avenue. The construction of 12-foot lanes with 3-foot shoulders and a 10-foot shared use path in the northbound direction is proposed. And the retaining wall will also be required in this alternative as well to avoid impacts to the existing cell tower near the U-Haul property. So for New Willow Street and Alternative 4, we are proposing redesigning New Willow Street, and we will be maintaining the existing curb line and existing roadway cross section from Calhoun Street to the charter school. The construction of 12-foot lanes with 3-foot shoulders are proposed from the charter school to Extension Road by the U-Haul property. The construction of 7-foot sidewalk is proposed in the northbound direction from Calhoun Street to Extension Road. And Way of the Holy Cross Ministries property will be impacted to accommodate a more standard roadway curve radius, while also avoiding impacts to the existing former Bohm porcelain building line. So I know that that was a lot, but I thank you all for your time. As I mentioned, we're looking forward to hear all of your comments and suggestions. But for now, I'll be turning the meeting back over to Amy.
Thanks. Yeah, I just have a couple slides left, and then, if there's any questions about the alternatives, we can go back and discuss them from there. So, okay, so this project was initiated in May 2024. We've completed all the data collection efforts that included preparing the environmental screening report, public involvement action plan, and finalizing the project purpose and need statement. We've also developed the 4 alternatives to address the project purpose and need. So the project's on about a 12-month, approximately a 12-month schedule. So we're looking to select a preliminary preferred alternative in the late spring of this year, early summer, and also complete the concept development phase in summer of 2025. So the community involvement schedule, we have 1 set of meetings where we talked about the project purpose and need. This was the 2nd set of meetings held in March and April to present the alternatives. And then we're going to have a 3rd set of meetings in late spring. We'll have a local officials briefing as well as a 3rd public information center. And that's where we'll be presenting the preliminary preferred alternative. So here's the project contact information for Matt, myself. There's also a project website hosted by Mercer County, mercercounty.org/Calhoun Street Study. So you can go on there, some additional project information. We'll also have a video of the Public Information Center as well. There's a video from the first Public Information Center on that website. So everything will be on there. So I wanted to thank everybody for their time. And now we will open the floor to questions. There's also display boards up there as well. So if you wanted to go up and, take a closer look at the plans, please feel free. And then Rudy is going to address any questions we might have in the chat if anybody has any specific questions in there. Oh, hi, Sunny.